I like coming to Vinnie Marino's for a nice conservative dinner like steak tips and fries.
I like coming to Vinnie Marino's Casa because of the liberal selection they offer, like my chicken piccata.
Vinnie Marino's is also offering a great deal for those on a conservative budget, 25% off on all dinner entrees.
For 25 years, Vinnie Marino has been offering liberal portions, and now with this liberal 25% discount, wow.
I'm Vinnie Marino, and I'd like to invite you to Vinnie Marino's. You see, we'll serve anyone, whether on the right or the left.
Eastern food on it, shish kebab, hummus, baba, kibbe, grape leaves, cabbage leaves. We also are known for our steak tips. We have some great steak tips and barbecue baby back ribs.
You said the best.
Oh, they are. They're the best in the country. I'm telling you, I get people that, in fact, I had a party yesterday that had come down and got like 30 pounds of ribs, you know, for their party, and they're so great that, you know, we cook them all up for them in advance. They just take them, put them on the grill, put our special barbecue sauce on it, and that's it. Voila, they've got it, and they take all the credit, too. That's the good thing about it, you know.
You have such a diversified life. You're a boxer. You were a boxer.
I was a boxer.
Were you middleweight, lightweight?
No, when I started out in the amateurs, I was a lightweight, 135 pounds. And when I turned pro, I never fought pro up here in Boston. I won the Junior New Englands, the New Englands, the Diamond Belt and stuff like that, tournaments up here in Boston. But when I turned pro, I went down to Miami. And I really didn't go down there with the idea of being a fighter. I went down with 4 other fellas, and we got a house right in Miami City, not on the beach, right in the heart of the city. And we were going to go and make our living and become famous in Miami, you know. Things didn't work out that well. Florida's a great place, but we found out that you can't eat the sunshine.
That's what everybody finds out. I used to went down there once myself.
Very tough to make a living,
yeah,
you know?
awful hard.
So after a few months, I found the only way I could make any money is I went back to the gyms, and I hooked up with a fella from New York who was related to Cus D'Amato, who was the manager of Mike Tyson, the former heavyweight champion of the world, who at the time had another heavyweight champion named Floyd Patterson. We're going back into the 60s now. So I hooked up with them, and they got me jobs sparring with a fella by the name of Benny Kid Paret, who was the welterweight champion of the world at the time. And they started paying me $25 a round, and that was like mega bucks. That was big money. And I used to box like 3 rounds a day, $75 a day.
And you could lie in the sun.
Yeah, well, I did every day after I got my beating. I went to...
But your face is perfect. I mean, how did you...
Well, like I zigged and zagged an awful lot, I'll tell you. I was a mover. You know, I was a busy fighter. Some of the things that have brought me through the business field, I feel I owe to boxing. Because the way I wasn't a great puncher and I wasn't a great boxer, but I was busy and well-conditioned, and I never stopped trying. And that was my whole thing. Keep punching, keep punching, keep punching.
Isn't that how Sugar Ray was at beat Marvin Hagler?
Yeah. Sugar Ray did. He just
never let him get to him.
Right, he was just too busy. He kept going, and
which was amazing.
It really was, because, you know, Marvin trained at my gym in Rosendale before he was the champ. He couldn't get sparring partners, and he used to come up to the gym, and I'll tell you, he was such a tremendous puncher. One of my buddies got in with him one day, and Marvin didn't mean it, but he broke all the kid's ribs, and the kid was an electrician. He was out of work and everything. Thank God he had insurance, because Marvin didn't have any money. And
Marvin, who do you think is the best fighter today?
Pound for pound?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the guy you've probably never heard of. His name is Chavez. He's got a record of 67-0. He's a Mexican, so he's not that well known, but he just beat a fella by the name of Meldrick Taylor, who was a world-class fighter. And the littler guys don't have the notoriety that the big guys do, you know, because everybody wants to see the heavyweights, you know, and that's where all the money is and the glamour. But the little guys, there's more competition. They have to fight harder, and they're better fighters because of it, you know.
What about Mike Tyson? Do you see him as getting the crown back?
I think that depends on Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson will only get the crown back if he goes back to the basics, which got him there. Yeah. Goes back to Kevin Rooney, the former trainer that taught him everything that he knows. Cus D'Amato was a very strange man. That was his former mentor, who actually adopted him. He legally adopted Mike Tyson. He had trained and managed Floyd Patterson, Jose Torres, Kevin Rooney, who was the trainer, and Mike Tyson, to manage 3 world champions. I mean, the odds on that have to be 10 million to 1 for one man to do something like that. People in boxing could be in boxing all their life, manage 100 fighters, and never have one that's good enough to fight a main event. Never mind become a world champion.
Somebody saw Mike Tyson in Las Vegas and said he didn't look like material that could fight.
Yeah.
He was not taking care of himself.
Well, I can see why, Phyllis. You know, you're a 21-year-old guy.
Yeah.
You've made millions of dollars. You've got it in your mind that, you know, all I got to do is go back and start doing a little bit of running.
Yeah.
This and that, everything's going to come back. But it doesn't. The thing I noticed when he fought Douglas is that he wasn't bending. You know, he was a stationary target. The thing that got him there is when D'Amato trains him to keep the hands very high, in tight, and bobbing and weaving always. It's like your head is a ball in the ocean, and it's a bobbing, and that's exactly what it was. When he always had that bobbing motion, and that when he would do that, and the guy would punch, they would counter punch. See, as soon as the guy would miss, boom, he'd come back. And D'Amato had this system. He'd go 2, 3, 7, and he'd come back with 3 different punches, you know. And Rooney is the guy that knows this because D'Amato had trained him. And he knows Tyson, and they sort of had a falling out when that Don King become involved and everything, you know.
Well, I think Tyson has a little screwy ways to him, and his background is conducive to...
Well, true. He had a tough upbringing,
life.
right? And
But don't most boxers
young,
have it?
Yes, because you see, most of the boxers that are successful are minorities.
And that's all they can do to make
Right,
the big
that's the
bucks.
only, and that's what keeps them going. I mean, I've seen a lot of fighters with talent. They come from a middle class or an upper middle class home, and they love to fight and everything. But you know, the thing is, they know that if they don't win today, they're going to eat tomorrow anyways. These other guys, they're not going to eat, and that's why your minorities always go to the top. You know, at one time it was the Jewish fighter, the Irish fighter, the Italian fighter. Today, you know, it is the black, and even more so than the black, predominantly, you'll see, even on the lower rung is the Hispanic. There are more Hispanic fighters that are coming up now than ever before.
Hopefully that will change. I mean, minorities are given a chance to do everything now.
Everything today. There's all the opportunities in the world for them, and it's up to them to go out and grab them because it's there. They have more opportunities than they've ever had, and you know, the smart ones are taking advantage of it, which
What
is
do you
great.
think about boxing? I mean, my father had no sons, so he had girls, and he took me everywhere. At all the gyms, I watched all the gory things, the knockouts, everything. Do you think it's terribly violent?
No, I don't. I really, I think it's a great thing for, it's a great conditioner. I think it's a good sport to get involved in. I don't think it's a good sport to become a professional because, let's face it, there's a hell of a lot easier ways to make a living. I wouldn't want my son to be a boxer.
You have a 9-year-old son.
I have a 9-year-old boy. I would love him to learn how to box. I would love him to learn how to defend himself. I would never push him to the point that I want him to enter the ring, even in the Golden Gloves. But I know that through boxing, it learned me how to discipline myself. And
the training part of it?
Absolutely right. Yeah, you know, the running, the road work. You know, one of the things I've always told my fighters, you know, when you go out on the road in the morning, I tell you to do 5 miles. If you don't do 5 miles, you're not cheating me. You're not kidding me, and you're not hurting me. You're hurting yourself because I can only tell you what to do. And when that bell rings, you're on your own. I can't help you anymore. I can tell you what to do, but if you can't do it, I can't do it for you.
God, it must be scary to see another guy coming at you.
Yeah, well, you know, the one thing is, I'll tell you, training and managing bothered me more than fighting, because I actually like to fight. The training was monotonous, and you know, you just have it up to here. You just can't wait to get in that ring. And the toughest part is when you're sitting in a dressing room, like in Miami. One time I'm fighting down there, and I fought on TV that night. And I was fighting the semifinal, and it was March 17th, 1962. It was St. Patty's Day, and I got to be fighting an Irishman. I said, what, you know, I got 2 shots, little and none. So I'm fighting an undefeated fighter. I never lost a fight. At that point, neither had I, but I had only had about 4 or 5 fights, and he was like 17-0. And I said, wow, this, and I'm sitting here, what am I doing here? You know, I wish I was home. So,
Did he beat you?
no, as it turns out, I got really lucky. The good Lord was with me. I did something right that day because he cut me in the 4th round. In the 5th round, the doctor come to my corner. He was going to stop it. And I said, one more round. And he said, just one round, and that's it. I'm stopping it. And I knocked him out in the next round.
Did you?
Yeah.
How does it feel to knock somebody out? I mean, did you feel powerful or terrible or you
It
walk
feels
away?
pretty good when you get... Excuse my French.
But you got, oh, God.
Yeah.
And but you didn't, he was down and out and that was it.
Yeah,
Did he
yeah.
come to quickly or?
Yeah, he come to, you know, that is the scary part. After you
Imagine
get
17 and 0 and you
Yeah,
knocked him out.
yeah.
That was his first fight that he lost.
That was his first defeat, yeah.
Now you left the ring and you had a restaurant, but you had a lounge, you said, with rock and roll groups,
Yeah, it was called
bands.
the Party Lounge in Rosendale, and we had the Nine Lodge, the G Clefs, the Tavoris. We had all the big bands of the eras in the middle '60s.
And you had a fire. You
I had
finally
a fire
redid
about 8
it.
years after that, and I completely remodeled it, and I opened up as a Middle Eastern restaurant, and we called it the Casa Beirut. And I ran that for about 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 years.
And then you changed it to Vinnie
And
Marino.
slowly I changed it to Italian, and as I changed it into the Italian atmosphere, I changed the name, and I just called it myself. I didn't know what to name it, you know, so someone just said, well, why don't you call it Vinnie Marino? So I said, that's as good as any,
I think
guess.
it's an excellent
Yeah.
name. How do you spell Vinnie? V-I-N-I, is it up
No,
there?
V-I-N-N-Y, I spell it, yeah.
That's what's on the sign when people are looking for
Vinny,
it. And
right,
Marino.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, down Florida, it's a funny thing. No matter how many times I told people my name was Vinny, they could never say, they always call me Vince.
Is that right?
Vince Marino, yeah.
What are your hours at where you are?
Well, we're open every day from
Every
lunchtime,
day.
yeah, lunchtime till 11 o'clock at night, and we have a Sunday brunch from 10 to 2 also.
And a bar do you have there?
I have a bar. It's a regular neighborhood bar, and it's separated from the restaurant. We have the neighborhood, you know, fellas. We have the softball teams that we sponsor, girls and boys dart teams, stuff like that. And that's in the bar side. And in the middle room, I have a pizza room. And we just have pizzas, and we have private functions. We have the Kiwanis Club comes in there, and we have a lot of political fundraisers in there also, you know, small 50, 60 people. And then we have the dining room on the other side of that, which is for the evening and the
How many
and
people
lunch.
does your dining room hold?
100 people,
Excellent.
yeah. And we have an awful lot of specials over and above the menu. And I would have to say that 50% of my customers eat the specials.
What is the special? You brought us a lot of food, and we're going to
Yeah.
go over and talk about it.
Okay.
But what is the special?
Well, it's something that's not on the menu.
Yeah, is
and-
it egg? What would a special be like
Well-
for today? Or do you know yet? Or yes?
Well, okay. Today we might have a sole franchise, could be a special. We might take I make them up as I go along, and then after I've made it up, I don't know what to call it, so I go and I get a map of Italy and I say, we'll name it that. That's shrimp Palermo or something
I
like
love
that.
it.
Yeah. And I do an awful, like, especially now, I love to cook in the summer because the tomatoes are coming out and, you know, all the fresh eggplant and things like that. We make great dishes with them.
I
And we
love
use
eggplant.
we use the fresh chopped tomatoes in the dish. Now we'll take an eggplant and we'll put, we'll saute a veal cutlet. We'll put the eggplant on top of that, ricotta on top of that, mozzarella on top of that, and the fresh chopped tomatoes and with basil sauteed with shallots and scallions. I melt it in the broiler, and it's a great dish. Great dish.
How many people do you think you serve a day? I mean, the pizza plate, is it easy to make pizza? Let's go back to that. Is it hard or easy to make pizza?
No, pizza's fairly easy to make. It's the main thing in pizza is getting
The dough right?
the dough right, which we've got down pat. And the next thing is your sauce has to be a fairly neutral sauce. You don't want anything heavily spiced with oregano or something like that, which I don't like anyways. And so we have a very neutral sauce that will not offend anybody. The most important thing I find is the cheese. And most places use mozzarella. And I use 100% skim-free mozzarella. And I also throw cheddar in it, and I throw a little bit of Parmesan to give it a little bit of a bite. Because in my son, it's the funny thing, whenever he eats anything, he goes, He smells it, and he smells it. He says, you know, Dad, he says, your pizza smells different than others. And it's because I use the blend of the cheeses.
What are your prices? Are your prices high? I mean,
No, I'm fairly low. My pizza's $6.50
That's
for
great.
a 14-inch pizza, and I use
That's
I add
excellent.
$1 for toppings. You know, when we get Boar's Head cold cuts too, so we use the best cold cuts.
Oh, I love Boar's Head.
Yeah.
They are an excellent brand.
And I use the fresh onions, fresh peppers, fresh mushrooms. Although I'm sort of thinking I don't know if I'm doing the right thing with that because. You know, everybody uses canned products, and the public is used to canned products, and
Nothing
you know,
like fresh,
yeah,
though. Nothing
yeah.
like fresh. You can taste the difference.
Oh, absolutely,
I mean, I find that canned would have more sodium in it.
absolutely.
And
yeah.
fresh is so, it's just fresh.
Yeah, but you know, you still have to think, what do the people want? You know, when I cook all my fresh broccolis, I had a fella comes in and he eats the shrimp Siciliano, one of the dishes I brought you today. He says, you know, Vinny, I love your shrimp Siciliano, my favorite dish. But they never cook the broccoli enough. I said, well, that's because it's al dente. He says, but I like it soft and mushy. I said, well, you cook all the vitamins out of it.
That's right. And
I
not
said,
only that's not good, it's good for you.
no. And I says, well, did you ever have fresh broccoli? And he says, no, I've only had it frozen.
Which isn't the greatest either, has
Yeah.
some salt in it.
Yeah.
But it's better than canned.
Absolutely. But, you know, what I'm thinking is, you know, the public, you know, the age group today that...
I think they're very aware of nutrition.
Well, they are, but remember, they are aware of it, but what have they been brought up on?
On canned
all
food.
junk food.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, all the people from 40 to 60 are the baby boomers, and,
Yeah.
you know, they've really been born and brought up on junk
It's too
food.
bad.
It is. You know, I have a restaurant in Florida.
Do you really?
Yeah, in Boca Raton, and I don't...
Oh, I was in Boca last year for 3 weeks. What's the name of your restaurant there?
It was the Boca Banana Boat, and it's on Federal Highway.
Okay, it was on Federal Highway.
Right, it's just north of Yamato Road.
Okay, I'm lost there.
Yamato and Linton,
Uh-huh.
just south of Delray, right on Federal Highway.
Yeah, I was right around there.
Well, I've had it since 1981, I think. Yeah, that's when I bought it. But now what I've done is I've sold the restaurant itself, and I kept the building.
Uh-huh.
And the fellas I just sold to are remodeling. They're opening up in September, and I said, if you need any help with the menu, I'll help you. So they saw my menu and everything. They said, geez, it sounds great, but we couldn't duplicate that. We could not do that.
Because of the fresh products you use?
Right. And he says, you know, we're thinking that the baby boomers are the commanding people in today's market, and we're going to go with all junk food.
What a
You know?
shame.
Well, it is, but you know, Fridays, places like that are so very successful. You know,
Actually, they have a lot of healthy foods, though, on Fridays, too. It's true. People are what they have been brought up to
Right.
get used to. But I think people are so aware today of what's good for them that they're all trying to change their eating habits. But I can see Florida was, to me, the eating mecca of the world. All people thought about was they're on vacation.
Right.
What time is it? Is it ready for the special? Is it ready for this? I mean, the restaurants all had long lines. I
And
think to
isn't-
myself, where are
and
they all coming from?
you've never seen as many franchises as anywhere in
Yeah.
Florida. Florida's franchise heaven. I've never seen anything like it
I
in my
have never
life.
seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah, it's the toughest market in the country.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I would think it'd be the easiest. People on vacation, all they do is think about food and
Yeah,
fun.
but you see, the thing is, there's just so many restaurants.
Yeah.
Every franchise in the country wants to be in Florida because of exactly what you just said, so that they see the franchise there. Now they go back to Cleveland or Detroit or wherever they're from, and they're going to go to that Arby's or that Burger King
Yeah.
or that McDonald's or whatever, because they're all there.
I'd rather go to your restaurant. We're going to stop for a commercial break, and then we'll come back to show the people what you brought us.
Fine.
And here we are. We're actually not in Vinnie Marino's restaurant, but this is what you'd get if you walked into the restaurant. Let's start with the pizza. You say you have a room that you serve just pizza in?
Right.
What kind of pizza is this?
This is a pizza that I've named after my mother, Katie, and it's with pepperoni and roasted bell peppers on it, and mozzarella cheese, you know, my 3 blends of cheeses.
Now, the crust is made like we see if we went into one of the
Yeah,
chains.
just a little round ball of dough. When you take it, you flatten it out, and then you stretch it until you get it to a point, and then you start spinning it.
And then your sauce, you prepare it yourself.
My
It's all
sauce,
homemade.
we prepare the sauce. We take it, we put on a ladle of sauce. Then we take the mozzarella, and then we put a little bit of cheddar, and then we top it up with Parmesan. Then I'll get my pepperoni over here, my roasted bell peppers, and put it on this particular pizza.
Now, what else could we have on here? We could have onions, mushrooms.
Onions, mushrooms, peppers, sausages, hamburgers, artichoke hearts. I make some with fresh tomatoes from the garden right now and basil. I take eggplant, I saute the eggplant up, I'll cut up and put it on them. I'll put anything on it.
This is, I'm dying here. Okay, let's go. And this is, what do you throw on, I shouldn't say throw, what do you place on
Okay,
pizza?
this is-
Oregano, grated cheese, no?
No, mozzarella, the 3 cheeses, mozzarella, cheddar, and Parmesan are the 3 that I blended with mine. But I use very little oregano in all of my cooking. There's a pinch of it, but well, I mean a pinch. It's so minute that you could never pick up.
Now, what if somebody wanted to spice it up? Do you have like a jar to put on?
Well, we have the crushed red pepper.
Okay.
You know, other than that, you mean to spice up the sauce?
No, but if they, before they eat it, I noticed you can throw on oregano, you can spice it up with the
right.
pepper.
We could give them oregano or crushed red pepper just like that is.
Uh-huh. Well, I would eat all this pizza in 2 minutes. Now, if we went into your main restaurant,
Right.
where you would have more of a formal dining,
Right.
what is this? This looks, the way you placed it is beautifully.
Well, that's called shrimp siciliano.
Can you see it, or do you want me to lift it up here a bit? And you can talk about it while I hold it.
I saute my shrimp until I get them halfway cooked, and once I get them halfway cooked, I'll add shallots and scallions and a little bit of garlic. I don't use an awful lot of garlic when I cook. I mix shallots and scallions with most of my stuff. I'll put in some Tabasco Worcestershire just to give it a little bit of a bite, and then I have a stock that I've made from fish and shrimp and stuff like that, and I'll add a little bit of stock in that, and I saute my broccoli in with it, and that's it.
Now, underneath here is linguine?
Linguine, right. I take, after I've sauteed all that in my dish, and I take my linguine and I put it on the bed of linguine, and then I place my shrimp and broccoli over it, and then I pour the liquid on top of it.
Most Americans don't know that the shrimp have heads. I mean, in Europe, when I was there, I saw the shrimp served with heads. I said, what's this? But we in America only see the shrimp with the heads cut off. So I was really, it was really something new for me. Your broccoli is fresh?
Oh, absolutely. We have all fresh vegetables. We don't use any canned
I think that's
products in the
wonderful.
restaurant.
That alone would make me come to your restaurant. I think that, how much would a dish like this cost?
It's $12.95.
Very, very good, because shrimp is high.
Yeah, they're high, and them are 8s to 12s. It's a big shrimp.
Okay, let's go with this. I know this is, now this is very dressed up, these little leaves.
Well, that's fresh basil from my garden that was picked this morning, by the way. Actually, my brother's garden. My brother Richie picked that. I've had a garden for about 8 years. Nothing's growing this year, so I had to go to him. But that's a chicken cutlet pan, and what we've done is taken the tomatoes from his garden also, and we've chopped the tomatoes up, and I saute them with the shallots, the scallions, and the onions, and a little bit of butter, and we saute it up, and then I place it over the cutlet, and then I take the mozzarella, the 100% skim-free mozzarella, put that over that, and I put it under the broiler, and I melt it over the cheese, and I garnish it with the fresh basil.
That looks delicious.
Yeah, it's
is
a
that
great
white
dish.
meat on the chicken?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
white
white
meat, yeah. It's the chicken breast.
And what is most popular in your restaurant? Are people going more towards fish? Are they going more towards a chicken?
I'll tell you, I've got such a diversified menu. I'll tell you, it's funny. Some people will come and all they'll ever eat is ribs. Other people, steak tips. Other people, veal. Other people, shish kebab. And other people will just come for the saute.
My goodness. Okay, I'll put that down. I can see them going like this. Now, this is ziti.
I thought they were saying hello. I thought he was saying help.
He's just telling me it's enough already. This is ziti. What's the difference? Ziti is is pasta too, but it's
Right.
shaped different,
It's-
cut different?
Yeah, pasta is pasta, but there's different shapes of pasta. Ziti, penne, babalugi, I don't even know how to say it in English. That's how my mother taught me. You know, manicotti stuff, shells. There's a lot of different
Now, this
shapes.
is the ziti, which is
Right.
boiled, and then is this your sauce? Maybe
Yeah.
the same sauce you might use on a pizza?
No. See, that's a cold sauce. That's a cooked sauce. That's a marinara sauce. We just saute the onions and garlic and salt, pepper, fresh basil, fresh oregano, and that is it. We take a carrot for sweetener because I don't use sugar. I don't believe in sugar.
Excellent.
I don't know, I never got to tell you, but I used to have health food restaurants. I had a chain of them down in Florida and Georgia and Atlanta. I had 26 of them. And that's how I learned to cook without using preservatives or sugar. And that's how I got to use carrots in my sauce, which is a natural sweetener. And that's, you know, we use that.
Onions a natural sweetener too, and
Yes.
garlic?
Yes, they are, but they won't bring the sweetness that a carrot will bring. A carrot will actually bring a sweetness like sugar.
What do you think about health food stores? Do you think there's a need for them? And
I think there's definitely, if there wasn't a need for them, they wouldn't be doing
And they're doing
you know,
very
so
well.
great, yeah. They really do well, and mine was a health food restaurant. We didn't sell...
health food restaurants,
Health
did
food
they
re-
go? I know a lot of people started them and they didn't
I was
go
a little
well.
before my time. I did it, and I ended in 1981, so I was a little ahead of my time, you know, and one of the things is at that point we really needed to diversify. We needed to come in with some of the other foods that people were eating,
Yes.
and so we just had a parting of ways, and I said I'm going to go back up north and, you know, stay in the restaurant business.
Do you like North compared to South?
Well, I like the South. I really do. It's more laid back.
That's what I found, too.
Well, I'll put it like now, in the state of the economy right
Yeah,
now, if I could
Florida
go
looks
back
good.
south, Florida looks very good.
Yeah. We'll get out of it, but I think it'll take us 2, 3, 4 years to get out of it.
I hope it's that fast. You know, we're in a lot of
Into
trouble.
Yeah, it's amazing that but Americans have been able to pull up by their bootstraps and maybe start. Food everybody must eat, right?
Well, that's true,
Do you
but
find they're going less to restaurants and eating more at home?
sure, they have to go less to restaurants because they don't have the money. And the first thing you're going to cut out is a restaurant where you're going to have to go and pay for a meal and service, whereas you could just go and buy something and take it home. It's a lot cheaper.
So I think that actually people have to start, restaurateurs have to stop maybe having their prices so high.
They're going to have to come down.
Come
They're going to
down
have
a
to
bit.
give more. We've already, you know, we give the salads with the entrees,
Oh,
which
do
we
you?
didn't.
Yeah.
I make these little garlic rolls out of the pizza dough that are very, very, very tasty. I bring them out with them.
Oh.
I'm doing a lot more with my ribs to go. They're waving again.
Yeah. All right, let's just talk about desserts for a
Okay.
second before we wind up. Do you have your own desserts?
Yes, we make our desserts. you know.
Any one we can think of offhand that you would have that's particularly popular?
Oh, they're all popular.
Yeah?
They really are.
Italian, regular?
Italian, regular, all of them.
How wonderful. Do you think I'm hungry? I am very hungry for Vinnie Marino's in Roslindale. And thank you for joining us. And don't run to your refrigerator. Walk and have some pasta. Bye-bye for now.
Now, were there mitigating circumstances that facilitated the perpetrator to commit any malfeasance?
Well, I wouldn't put it in those words exactly.